Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a short video talking about the Trevor Bauer, Lindsey Hill situation. For people who are unfamiliar, Trevor Bauer is an ex-MLB pitcher, and he was basically suspended from the Major League Baseball because of allegations of violent SA by a former partner of his, a woman, an Instagram hoe, an Insta thought by the name of Lindsey Hill. So we're going to talk about this because there's a lot of stuff to get into. I want to first begin, though, by bringing up this article. This is from our friend Chris Menahan over at Information Liberation. Ex-MLB star Trevor Bauer exposes damning messages from Instaho who accused him of violent SA. Now, he says, Trevor Bauer, a former MLB player who had his life derailed by a predatory Instagram skank who accused him of violent SA, exposed his accuser in a viral video posted to X, which quickly racked up over 60 million views and even drew the attention of Elon Musk. So before we get into that, I want to play the video now and I'll do some commentary on it because this is just, it is so evil and disgusting.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me.
So before she has even met this man, she has already, and this is very important, she's already talking about him and planning with her friends. She's saying he's her next victim. This is, again, before they have even met. That shows that this was premeditated on her part.
What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time.
Like, what kind of woman talks like this, right? This is not somebody who is just an innocent woman who was being victimized. I mean, she's talking about on the first time going to this house, what should I steal? That tells you the kind of mindset you're dealing with. And she could say she's joking or whatever with her friends, but I'm a woman and I couldn't imagine like joking like that with my friends about going to a wealthy man's home and then saying, what should I steal? It just shows you the intent from the jump with this woman.
The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that?
Wow.
Need daddy to choke me out, she said, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million.
This is stuff she's saying to her friends. She's planning what she's going to allege. Like, this is her planning what she later alleges he did to her. I mean, it's stunning.
Read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you 50,000, Lindsey replied.
Oh, and by the way, just to talk about who that guy is, I'm going to bring up an article. The man that she's talking about here, this other pitcher, Jacob Nix, we'll talk about him in a minute.
Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, her legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent.
And good on him.
In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team.
Of course.
Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021.
So here she is. In this video, she's smugly smirking in the video, in the Snapchat. And by the way, I believe she says that she was talking to her cousin or something. So here she is after she's just spent the night with this guy who is a pro baseball player, star pitcher, as she said, her next victim. And in the video, he's sleeping. He has no idea she's even recording him. He has his sleep mask on and everything. And here she is slyly filming him so she can brag about this like it's a conquest of hers, because she knows she's setting him up and she's seemingly proud of that. It's bizarre. And again, the metadata is there, so she cannot claim that, oh, after this, he attacked me or that's when I was assaulted. We know that's not true because the metadata from her phone shows that shortly after this video was taken by her, she leaves. She leaves his home.
Without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us. Yeah.
Yeah, if she had just experienced what she claims happened to her, you would expect to see, if she's talking to her cousin, some kind of distress on her face. As a woman, if something like she alleged actually happened to her, why would you be smiling and smirking and pouting like that, doing the pouty face and everything? It's almost as if she's like mocking this guy that's so naive, he's got no idea what she's planning to do to him. That's what that video says to me.
After hearing the evidence available to her, Judge Diana Gold Saltman found that Lindsey Hill had misled the court. She found her claims to be materially misleading. She denied her request for a domestic violence restraining order, and she found that no sexual assault or non-consensual conduct took place. Now, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings.
Now that's important because she's still kind of claiming that this happened. A judge ruled none of that took place.
I know I didn't, but I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low. So you can make of that what you will. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard.
Now, I want to say here, because this I think is super important, that stuff like this, incidents like this is why young men are staying away from women and why they're terrified to get involved with women because of things like this. This is a guy who we're told, is privileged, right? Because he's a white man and he's kind of wealthy. What privilege did this guy have, though? From the leftists who say that, there's a patriarchy and a white supremacy, in what way did he benefit from any kind of a system that was, rigged in his favor? In no point did this man have any privilege, even being somebody with resources, right? And a pretty big platform. It took him years and he had to spend millions of dollars to go through the discovery process with this woman in civil litigation to get the evidence he needed to kind of clear his name. And he had his life destroyed and ruined at the peak of his career over simply allegations. This was part of the hashtag Me Too thing. She made these allegations in 2021, and it has taken him this long to get the evidence to clear his name. And we saw something very similar with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And this woman, Lindsey, had produced images where she had bruises, and it really makes me think about Amber Heard because she had done the same thing, and it took Johnny Depp years to go through that defamation trial to clear his name. And having witnessed that in person, this is just, it makes me so angry. And it really shows, I think, and I'd love to interview this guy, Trevor, about the damage that false accusations can do to people. I mean, he had his entire life destroyed. He got the harshest suspension ever in the MLB history. They suspended him for I think I'm not an expert on baseball by any means, so don't, but they ended up reducing it basically for several seasons. He was suspended, something like 30 games or something, maybe more, and then that was later reduced. But basically, he had just signed this contract with, I think it was the Dodgers, and then because of these allegations that was basically ended. And now this guy, he, since she made these allegations, he has not pitched in the major league. He is now over in Japan pitching for them because nobody would touch him, even when in 2022 some of this evidence started to come to light that this woman may not be telling the truth. That didn't matter to them. His life is still ruined by this, and this is again somebody who has the resources to fight this. Imagine a man who does not have these resources in this same situation. He could be going to jail for the rest of it, for years. These are very serious allegations, and I think that frankly, people who make false allegations like this, I think they should do prison time. I mean, this woman, you in the text messages, she's talking about an extortion scheme, a blackmail scheme. She should be charged criminally.
And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never sexually assaulted Lindsey Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Quite frankly, regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsey Hill could ever pay me in her entire life. And I knew that would be the case going in. But the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name.
This is the huge problem. When you have to go through this process, it's not like we have due process anymore and people are presumed innocent until proven guilty. It's oftentimes now the opposite, where you're just, because of the media, the mainstream media and how they cover these things, you're just presumed guilty, and then you have to try to prove your innocence, which is completely backwards. It's an inversion of how it's supposed to be. It is ridiculous that he had to go through this much time, spend this much money, and again, he has still not been made whole, and he never will be.
The discovery process in that lawsuit recently concluded, at which point Lindsey Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. Having received much of the information that had been hidden from us, a small portion of which I've referenced here, I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021.
Imagine that. Imagine somebody falsely accuses you of something heinous and horrific. Your entire life is destroyed while you're at the peak of your career and you can't say anything. For years, you're not allowed to publicly talk about it. You can't put your side of the story out there, and you're being subjected to this horror show of international news headlines disparaging you. ESPN spent hours and hours and hours just smearing this guy based on allegations alone, and he could not say anything. He could not defend himself. That is insane.
So, as of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Now, over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life.
Okay, so this was the video he put out. I want to go back now to the article here. So he had put this out, and Elon Musk saw it and said, absolutely, seriously evil. And he asked Bauer, were her lawyers aware that she withheld the evidence? And Bauer says yes. I want to bring that up here. I'm going to zoom in so people, hopefully everybody can see this. It appears her lawyers had the evidence the entire time. speaking specifically about the video of her laying in bed next to me with no marks on her face the morning after she claims I brutally attacked her. An email containing that video was sent to her attorney, Brian Friedman, before the DVRO hearing in 2021, and it was never turned over to us. Perhaps that's why he insisted on adding his name to the release party section in the settlement agreement. Yeah, I would say so. There was also a 12-day span of texts between Lindsey and two of her closest friends immediately following the incident that were deleted. We asked for them in discovery for the DVRO. They were not turned over. We also argued that they must be turned over in the DVRO proceeding. They were not. Lindsey Hill's other law firm, Meyer Olson Lowy and Myers LLP, who co-represented her through that court process, had them the whole time. That is, to me, insane and disgusting. Now, this gets even worse. Let me just finish this off. It appears her lawyers had it the whole time. This is her Instagram for people who are wondering. Lindsey Hill, you can see the kinds of thirst trap photos basically that she posts. Bauer's Wikipedia details Lindsey's original allegations against him. Pasadena police, June 30th, 2021, confirmed to news outlets Bauer was under investigation for the alleged assault of a San Diego woman. The woman was granted a temporary DVRO June 28, alleging she met Bauer April 21st, had been physically and SA'd by him on two separate occasions. The woman alleged Bauer had done horrible things to her, sodomized her without consent, punched her in the face multiple times, and choked her to the point of unconsciousness. She went to the emergency room at Alvaro Hospital where her injuries were examined and met with detectives. The MLB placed Bauer on administrative leave July 2nd while Dodgers removed his merchandise from their team store and replaced his scheduled bobblehead promotion night with Clayton Kershaw World Champion t-shirt promotion. Replaced it. They replaced it. Now, Bauer has acknowledged he had intimate relations with her, but said that the encounters were consensual. Now, she did a video going on Alex Stein on Blaze TV, and we will talk about that. And we'll play a clip of it. Bauer was suspended over the allegations and had to go to Japan to play baseball, which is ridiculous. Despite not being found guilty of anything, Bauer hasn't really gotten justice in this case, as the two settled with neither admitting wrongdoing, which is ridiculous. So anyways, yeah, just getting into the false allegations and how many times does this have to happen? I will include the original complaint in here for you guys from 2022. I'll include that. This is the guy, Jacob Nix, that she was texting. The other picture that she was talking about, you know, oh yeah, get that bag. And she said, oh, I'll give you $50,000. That's this guy, Padres pitcher, Jacob Nix, arrested after climbing through a family's doggy door. It's this guy. So he's not a, you know, these are her friends. Like, look at who she's associating with, all right? People like this and what they're talking about. Apparently, the resident of the house had to kick him and use a stun gun on him. Okay. So, yeah, that was her friend. And that was in 2019. That was before any of these accusations came out. So this guy's just not a good guy. This is the interview that she did with Stein. We'll get to that in a minute. TMZ is calling this, oh, they've agreed to settle lawsuits. That they're not really calling it what it is. And I thought this was disturbing. This just goes to highlight the disgusting behavior of the mainstream media. Journalist Molly Knight, formerly of The Athletic, reported that pitcher Trevor Bauer fractured the skull of Lindsey Hill. At the time, Her publication, The Athletic, had copies of Hill's medical records, which showed there was no fracture. She reported it anyways. So within days of the complaint and filing a petition for restraining order, the online sports news website, The Athletic, and its former employee, Molly Knight, defamed Mr. Bauer by creating and spreading the false narrative that Bauer had fractured the complainant's skull. There was no basis for that assertion. Her own medical records, which the publication possessed, showed that she had no such fracture. Absolutely ridiculous. And this journalist has privated their account because presumably they're getting so much pushback, and I believe he is suing them for defamation, as he should. Now, moving on, just to show you this woman, we'll show you pictures of her again. Here she is, smirking after spending the night with him in his bed while he's sleeping, again without his consent. And just to show you the pictures that were put out, obviously she does not look like that here, so it makes you wonder, did she do this to herself? Did she have somebody else do it? Are these fake like Amber Heard and how she faked hers? We don't know. But I want to go to her speaking in her own words. Here is a clip from her on Primetime 99.
I like to slap and pull a hair.
This is a lewd interview. I apologize for that. But here she is laughing about trying to destroy this man's life.
And do this and that. Let's just be real. I mean, we all like to have a little fun. Did he cross the line? What happened? I mean, how does it go from kind of playful, fun stuff to assault? What can you say, and how can you describe the situation?
And by the way, I will include the links in the video description for this. So
yeah, it's actually something, for 2.5 years, I have been testifying on and, explaining things away, every text message,
Oh, explaining things away. How do you explain this away, ma'am? I'm sorry, but it speaks for itself. And your story doesn't make sense. Your explanations, how you're trying to explain things away.
The video, it all has an explanation.
Well, those text messages are bad, though. Lindsey, you keep bringing the text, and I don't even want to, totally kill you on these texts, but as a person that,
And I think he's trying to be polite with her. He's trying to be fair with her. But even he is saying, like, how these texts look really bad. It looks very damning.
Listen, these texts, let's look at right here. What does that mean? Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. That's text 1. That's kind of bad, Lindsey. What is that? I mean, I know you're saying this is no context, and I'm sure you're being sarcastic. I'm guessing. I mean, but what the hell does that mean? Next.
And here she is cackling about it like it's funny.
Victim.
She thinks it's silly and funny.
Yeah, and this is, exactly what Trevor wanted to do, was random pick 3 or 4 texts and weave it into a narrative where I just look horrible. But so, when I explained that and in my deposition and different things, I'm like you. I like to joke. I'm very sarcastic.
Right. She was just being sarcastic as she planned it every step of the way. I mean, that was just sarcasm. And this was disturbing. I apologize in advance for playing this clip. I'm sorry, but this is an interview she participated in.
What is it? Read it.
It's incredibly inappropriate, but she went on this show, and this is one of the super chats.
Connor O'Brien has said a super chat, says, did she swallow?
Oh my gosh! Jimmy. You don't have to answer that, but we would appreciate it.
You don't have to answer
anything.
I'm contractually obligated to read that.
That was a very weird, laugh that she did about that.
He is obligated to read those super chats. Don't show Jimmy anymore. Please don't show Jimmy anymore. I'm sick of Jimmy.
This woman, good on her. She seems incredibly disturbed by this entire thing, and I believe this woman had the best take on this thing.
Follow her or spit her.
I don't think we ever did that, to be honest with you.
What a bummer, because that's my favorite thing to do. But
okay. So, anyways, yeah, this woman in the corner here is like, what is going on? She is an actual survivor of DV, so she was very upset about this, and she told this woman, Lindsay, I think that people who make false accusations like this should go to jail. It's damaging to real victims because people don't believe them now because of women like this who lie and try to destroy men's lives to take their money. You know, because of that, people nowadays are more skeptical when somebody who's an actual victim comes forward because of people like this woman. Now, moving on, I'm going to wrap this up here. I wanted to share this video for My Talk News. I'll include a link in the video description because, again, as I said, I'm not, I'm not an expert on baseball, and I have not been following this saga. But this guy has been much better than I could do it. So I want to play some of what he said because I found his analysis very interesting. And he's the only person I've really seen say that, look, this seems like this was a coordinated attack, not just by this woman, but he apparently, Trevor, not only was he a very outspoken Trump supporter and was vocal about his politics, but he was apparently controversial and had publicly criticized his own manager. And so maybe there were people at the league who wanted him gone. And he said he doesn't believe that it's a mistake, that actually several women are trying to do this to him all in the same year as he's at the peak of his career. There's something very strange about that. And I'd be interested because, again, he's not been charged with anything yet, despite these other women supposedly making allegations. I'd be interested to learn more about that because I have a feeling that perhaps this guy is right. Maybe there is sort of like a conspiracy at work here.
Over 2 years ago, in the summer of
And I know it sounds crazy to say, but like, just think about it for real. Just consider it, okay? So I'm going to play part of this. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I'll put a link in the video description. You can watch the whole thing on your own.
2021, Trevor Bauer was at the peak of his MLB career, having just won the Cy Young Award in 2020, and then getting the largest annual salary contract ever for a pitcher.
So that's actually apparently a pretty big deal. He was basically considered like the best pitcher in the MLB at the time, if I understand correctly, after getting these awards and stuff. You know, it's a pretty big deal, I suppose.
Signing a 3-year contract worth over $100 million with the Dodgers. And it wasn't like he was slowing it down in the first year with his new team. In Bauer's first 17 starts of the 2021 season, his first in LA, he pitched to a 2.59 ERA in over 100 innings.
I have no idea what that means.
Striking out 137 hitters.
But from what I understand, it means he's very talented.
The man was filthy, and at this point in time, all of this success combined with his outspoken and popular personality, Bauer was one of the most popular players in the game. And then...
Some breaking news tonight involves a member of the...
And, just listen to these headlines, and then knowing what we know now, listen to this.
The Dodgers.
Trevor Bauer, now all of a sudden, he's going to have much bigger problems off the field. That's because a woman is reporting that he assaulted her, and he is currently under investigation after she filed a claim that he got physical with her.
New development tonight in the case of former Cleveland Indians pitcher Trevor Bauer, who is under investigation for sexual assault.
Now, Bauer has been accused by a woman of choking her until she lost consciousness over the course of 2 sexual encounters earlier this year.
Listen to that. That sounds horrific. It sounds horrible. You see how, and I will say to Trevor, not to be disrespectful or anything, sir, and I have compassion for what happened to you, but you need to have better discernment in how you pick women, and especially men who have money like this. They need to be more discerning of who they let into their lives. You need to pick better women. What are you doing looking at these Instagram thoughts? You should know better, okay? And you should be looking for better women who wouldn't do an extortion scheme on you and try to blackmail you.
Major League Baseball was making the decision to pull their teammate and starting pitcher Trevor Bauer 3 days after disturbing sexual assault allegations were brought against him.
LA Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer has been placed on a 7-day administrative leave following allegations that he sexually assaulted a woman.
Pitcher Trevor Bauer, days after a woman accused him of assaulting her.
Trevor Bauer is facing some very serious allegations.
And this is like everywhere. I mean, this is all over the news over and over and over again. These headlines just blaring repeatedly. And imagine that this is, try to put yourself in this guy's shoes, and he didn't do what he's being accused of doing. And yet this is all people are seeing, and he can't talk about
Dodger
it.
pitcher Trevor Bauer is out, placed on administrative leave today by Major League Baseball as Pasadena police investigate allegations of sexual assault.
Bauer has been accused of assault, had a domestic violence restraining order filed against him in court this week.
Just like that, within the snap of a finger, Trevor Bauer became the most hated man in baseball.
Literally
but to be fair, there are multiple things that played into this. But really quick, this is Felipe Vazquez.
Okay, so anyways, we'll end it here. I will include the link to that in the video description so you can watch that full thing, and I encourage you to do so because he talks about how he believes this may have been more of a coordinated effort to get rid of him, or that maybe there were people in the MLB who wanted him gone and maybe it worked out really well for them. There were people he criticized. I guess the guy was kind of controversial, so but like I said, I'm not an expert by any means, so make of that what you will. But I will say that I think that we are getting to a point where this is happening more and more, and it needs to stop. And I think people are finally waking up to this. Nobody does the believe all women anymore. Hopefully people are seeing why that's wrong and why that's a problem. But we really need to get to the point where when these allegations come out, people have enough sense to stop and wait for all of the information to come in before they rush to condemn somebody, because this happens over and over and over again, and sometimes it could take years to come out. So anyways, that's it. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Bye everybody, have a good day. Whee!